Welcome live from the Amsterdam Arena. A 3-day hackathon is going on here. The subject is smart cities. How can technology and there's a lot of fun going on in the background as well, as you hear. 60 or 70 people are working here on solutions with the data sets they have here. And a lot of them are thinking about how can you make an arena, the place where we are, more smart. But let's, Tracy, you do a lot of things. You publish and you think about cities and what's going on over there. If I ask you, what is a smart city? Let's just start there.
Okay. For me, a smart city is a city that uses technology to improve the life of its citizens and to improve the power that the urban institutions have, government, business, infrastructure, also to improve the life of their citizens. And you see now that smart technology is really changing the relationship between us as individuals and business and our government institutions.
Yeah, and can you give an example? How can technology help us in a city?
There are countless ways in which technology can help us. Just to give a couple, we can form a group to fight an unsafe traffic intersection. We can form a group to create childcare facilities where there are none. We can create a group we can use sensors to find a parking space rather than, driving round and round and round in cities. A third of the cars on the street are not going anywhere. They're only looking for a parking place. And that will help the quality of the air. And so there are a million ways that technology can help us on a daily basis. What I find interesting is where it starts to rub and to create blisters.
Yeah.
And I think that part is where you see that technology helps us in some ways surpass institutions that we always thought were essential. A good example was given to me recently for my talk show Stadsleven, City Life, by Ger Baron, the Chief Technology Officer of Appsterdam. And he said, look at the electricity company Nuon. Nuon used to be the only company that provided electricity to business and to homes in Amsterdam. Now we're all setting up our own co-op. We're buying energy from all sorts of different businesses. And I think Nuon, if they're smart, should be a little worried about what their future role in our lives as consumers will be.
Yeah.
So I find that really fascinating. Of course, technology is very helpful in any number of ways. But I really become, my ears perk up when I hear that technology is changing the really basic structures of our society.
Yeah, and you've got technology companies like Ger. It's his role here in the city of Amsterdam to think about stuff like that as well. So, but is it democratizing, say, everything as well? Because whose role is what in this? Of course, the role of the city is, for example, to make sure that the roads are over there, etc. But in the technology sector, do we get new roles, all of us as well?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. It's democratizing everything, and yet at the same time, there's a very scary new power structure arising. It democratizes things because we as citizens, through technology, through our smartphones, have much more say in our surroundings, in how they're built, how they're maintained, what kind of facilities we actually need. There's a whole new way of communicating with the people and the bodies who govern us. So yes, it's making our life much more democratized. At the same time, I think the use of our data can be a tremendous threat to democracy. It's giving certain companies who know how to gather this data, like the NSA, like Facebook. Yeah. I hesitate to mention them in the same breath, but they do have this in common, that they're huge collectors of our data. And not only do they know a lot about us, but every click on the net is a source of income for them.
Yeah.
So there's a very strong anti-democratization trend in the power that these new technological companies have.
Yeah. So for example, you yourself, because the thing is, sometimes it helps you it can help you sometimes to give away some privacy, because when people know more about me, they can help me more. But at the same time, you never know what others are going to do with the data. Of course, that's what we've been learning the last couple of years.
And you see, there's a big lag in our knowledge about how to deal with our own data. It's really only very recently that we're starting to realize how strategic and how valuable our data are, and that we're generating data all the time. Nobody talked about this 5 years ago. So this is a very new field of, let me call it, civic awareness that I think is unbelievably critical, and I think every school everywhere has a responsibility to teach children at a very early age about their digital presence and how that can be used both for them and against them. You can't start early enough now to be aware of what this can mean in the future. But I don't know if the teachers are aware enough themselves to teach the kids. So we have a lot of catching up to do.
Yeah, and at the same time, sometimes I think, and at the same time, they're more smart than we think. For example, the thing is, we both grew up in a time when if your telephone rang in your house, you always answer. And they never answer if there's a phone that they don't recognize, for example.
And they don't listen to the voicemail, and they have a hard time believing that the phone used to be attached by a wire to the wall.
Yeah.
Mom, what? The phone used to be attached to the wall?
Yeah. Hey, and
So yes, they're very savvy, but at the same time, I wonder if they're skeptical enough.
Yeah. And like you say, so schools, parents, etc., play a role in that. Is the whole smart city is such a big container of everything? So like you gave an example. So to you personally, what is the most interesting field when we talk about smart cities?
There's one of the leading intellectuals in the Netherlands is a man named Maarten Haaijer, who is a professor at the University of Amsterdam and also the director of the Netherlands Environmental Assessment Agency. Terrible name, but they put out really interesting reports, and he is really an interesting thinker. And he wrote a book recently published by this assessment agency about smart urbanism. And his theory in this book is that we should not talk about the smart city because then we're only talking about the goal of technology in itself. He wants to talk about smart urbanism and what the technology does for citizens, for the streams of energy, streams of garbage, the streams of construction, all those cycles that create the places where we live. And since now more than half of the world's population lives in cities, and it will within a couple dozen years be 75%, we really need to look at what technology can do for urbanism and not just for itself.
Because we start, in too many cases, we start with technology and not with the problems or the questions.
It's not surprising. I'm not blaming anyone. It's exciting. It's sexy. It's amazing. I'm of the generation that is still totally amazed by what I can do with that little box in my hand. Unbelievable. I remember the first time I saw moving images on a computer screen. There's these little blocks like and now you can get a hold of this tiny box and watch a movie on it. It's incredible. So no wonder we are totally entranced by technology. But that cloud of entrancement also sometimes stops us thinking clearly about what is technology actually for.
I remember years ago I was in Thailand, and I had my Kindle with me, and of course the Kindle is connected always to the Amazon store. And the first time I bought a book in a train in Thailand, and for my daughter, because all her books, she read all of them. And I told her that, look, I just bought a book on my Kindle in a train. I said, yes, so?
So?
Okay. But I always think it's important that we remember that bit as well.
I think it's really interesting to see too how artists are picking up the young hackers like here, but also artists are really interested in what digital technology means to our relationship to each other. And at my talk show Stadsleven last Tuesday, two artists showed their project called Saving Face, Karen Lancel and Herman Maat. And it's an installation that uses face recognition technology, which usually we think is something really scary and surveillance-like. and you stroke your face, and the face recognition technology registers that, and then stores it, and then other people come and touch their face, and then the technology merges our faces together.
Yeah.
And I love this project because it's about, on the one hand, the scary technology that anybody can recognize a terrorist at the airport, maybe,
Yeah.
and at the same time that there's a new kind of communality that comes from bringing all these faces together.
Yeah.
So to me, both ends of the spectrum of our changing relationship to technology came together in this project.
Yeah, and I think it's when you talk about smart cities. Of course, people have been talking about the subject for years, but it seems to me really early days, or it seems like that we now maybe getting to a phase where we can really do stuff. So how is that going to say? Because I was thinking, it can help, of course, when we know where people are, and but at the moment, that, like for example, in Amsterdam, the problem seems bigger than ever when you see how many tourists we try to get in the center to the center of
11 tourists per inhabitant.
Yeah,
that's
so
a lot.
Yeah.
But in Brugge, it's 46.
Okay,
in Bruges.
so it can always be worse. But so how can so what are the problems we have where technology can really help us when you talk about a smart city?
Geez, where to begin? Erwin, there are so many ways that technology can help us. Technology has given us tools to acquire knowledge that we didn't have before, and we can use that knowledge to improve our lives. For example, if you live in the neighborhood of the airport, Schiphol,
yeah.
You used to be completely dependent on the reports of the airport itself on how much noise the planes produced. Now, you can put a sensor in your garden, collect your own data, all your neighbors can do that, and together you have a strong set of data with which you can prove your case. It's given us tools to be stronger in our negotiations with government, sometimes with adversaries in government.
Yeah.
And it's also given us new platforms for... It's created, this is one of the other elements that really interests me, is there's a new sort of meta level of digital trust that's been created by technology.
Yeah.
For example, Holland has this really smart company called Snapcar, where you can use someone's car, you can rent someone's car in the hours that they're not using it.
Yeah.
Well, great idea. And the founder of Snapcar, Pascal Ondijk, told me that they've discovered that people much prefer to rent out their car to people who are in their Facebook group, even if they've never met those people.
Oh, yeah?
It's just the fact that you've, say, breached that first barrier. You're in my Facebook group, so somewhere you're okay, and if you're not okay, I can at least hold you accountable and I can find you again.
Yeah.
So people are much more willing to enter into some sort of transaction with people that they know a little bit. And this new level of trust, if you're, say, fighting Schiphol because of the noise level,
Yeah.
you may not know all your neighbors, but through this shared activity, you may get to know them.
Yeah.
So there's all sorts of new, really personal, face-to-face interaction that is coming out of the digital possibilities.
Yeah.
Now, that I find just amazing and
but
really interesting.
I'm a Snapcar user myself.
Uh-huh.
And, well, what I like about it is the same with when Airbnb in the good cases. So when you rent someone's house, but the same things with the car, because it gives you a story. Because we read a really good. We rented a really old Mercedes from a Volvo. From a student, and we went to England, and it didn't start when we came off the boat. Yeah, but the funny thing was, our children, for them, was there's a certain movie where they have to the bus never works, and they have to the children then have to start it. So they had but we came back with a story. Normally, you would go back to the rental thing. He would say the thing didn't work, and now we had a story to tell. So the experience is a lot better. But what I wanted to say was, I tried to rent a car, and then it turned out to be the car of my neighbor. I never talked with, but thanks to the Snap car, I know now who my neighbor is, and then I can rent his car. Hey, very often when people talk about smart city, it's more of the internet of everything and the connectedness of everything. Because when they say, well, you know where you can park your car, etc. But of course, that is the phase where we seem to be going into now, the connectedness of everything. When does it scare you, the connectedness of everything?
It's what I particularly myself don't like is that somebody all the time always knows where I am.
Yeah.
And maybe sort of also what I'm doing because of that. I don't feel that anybody except myself, not even my husband, or nobody needs to know that. That's my right to move about in complete freedom and not be followed all the time. So the surveillance aspect of the Internet of Things and this permanent connectedness is what worries me the most. Having said that, do I do anything about it? No.
Yeah.
I WhatsApp and I Facebook and I email and I call, although we hardly use our phones to call anymore.
No.
All the time. So I'm just as guilty a lazy consumer as all the rest of us.
Yeah. Hey, you so over here they think about solutions, for example, energy, travel, etc. around the arena. So if you would have joined a team over here, where would you start with thinking about solutions in this respect?
One of the problems of this part of town is, in some ways, it's probably the least smart part of town, is that there is no urban tissue here. It's just a series of big buildings that have been plunked down, and the area in between is paved, but I don't think I'd really call it a street.
Yeah.
And there's not much reason to be on that street except to go somewhere else. So I think what we really need here is perhaps not even technical solutions or technological solutions, but a new form of urbanism that is much more oriented towards the user rather than towards the buildings themselves. Nobody seemed to really think about the user here. You can't find your way, it's inhospitable, it's windy.
Yeah.
It's one of the most inhospitable surroundings in an otherwise very hospitable city.
Yeah.
I think they really blew it.
Yeah.
So perhaps what we should be doing here is more traditional urban design than technological solutions. Of course, we need to solve energy issues and transportation issues and garbage issues. This place produces a huge amount of garbage, but I know that they're working on that very actively, as is the airport. The airport, for example, did an experiment to collect all the urine of everyone who passes through the airport to make fertilizer out of it, which is something that the Dutch water company has done and perfected, and they're very good at it. So that's a good benefit, but the problem here around the arena is more a people problem than a bits and bytes problem.
Yeah, and it's everywhere. So it's like the arena, and it is the Heineken music hall bit over there. I hate going there.
Yeah. This is not a place you look forward to coming to.
No, maybe when you're inside and for 1.5 hours you have.
On the other hand, in this not very hospitable set of surroundings, we have this very cool, lively, personal hackathon going on.
Yeah.
So
and once you're
inside,
in there,
it's fine.
When you're in there,
Yeah.
it's really nice. I agree, and it's the same thing, of course, when you go to a concert, etc. But I don't like to be in that specific. But the moment, of course, that's where you go. Where you're going.
Well, I came here for you, of course.
Okay,
so.
well, that's that's nice, and I like being here, and so the cleaning up from everything. I think from
the toppers last night.
Last night, and when you came in here, we can't show it, but there is no grass, and I think when you're here later on today, it's a green. It's as green as it can be for.
When I came in this morning, there was no grass. I'm just amazed.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, thanks a lot for your talk, and we're going to see you those days what they're coming up with.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
All right.